these days, it is extremely critical to look at today from the lens of tomorrow, rather than to try and predict tomorrow from the lens of today. Because when change is relatively slow or continuous, then you can project out reasonably well, never perfectly, reasonably well tomorrow from today. But it's when you have rapid change, when you have discontinuity, then trying to look at tomorrow from the lens of today can be seriously problematic. Now, let's look at just in the last 20 years how the world has changed. The 20 years back, or slightly more than 20 years back, not a whole lot more, India was nearly bankrupt. Okay? And in fact, at that time, not only in the early 1990s, even more recently, 2000, if you did some kind of a Google search, although Google didn't, was just being founded in 2000, if you did a search for India, the hyphenation would be India-Pakistan, it would not be India-China. Okay? So India wasn't anywhere on the radar screen economically of the world, except as a failing, nearly bankrupt country. The quality of infrastructure in China, and in fact, as somebody who, I go to China 5-6 times a year, and I've been doing that for 15 years, that it's not uncommon if you're coming from Beijing or Shanghai and you come to New York to say, maybe in fact I'm going to a third world country. And so it's, that advanced, the infrastructure in the big cities in China, that China built its first highway in 1993. Okay, and so you can imagine the quality of infrastructure in China 20 years back. 20 years back, obviously, in fact, how many of us in the room, forget about smartphones, had mobile phones? Okay, and so do you know when the first smartphone, when iPhone was launched? 2007. Okay? So 2007 was the first iPhone. Today, how many people in the room have a smartphone? Could be an Android or could be an iPhone. How many people in the room have a smartphone? Everybody, right? Now, India has 1.2 billion people, and maybe about 800-900 million of them are adults. Okay? 3 years from now, 4 years from now, how many people in India might have smartphones? 700 million, right? And so think about the pace of change, that the first iPhone is introduced in 2007, and by 2017 could be 700 million people in India who have smartphones. Okay? So that's, and of course, smartphone is not just, like a beautiful looking device. I mean, it is a device which changes your life. Okay? So it's a device with impact, both professional and personal. So therefore, it's the pace of change. And now, so if we say that's, social media, what did social media mean? Forget about 20 years back, just 10 years back, say in 2004. In 2004, what social media meant was that you walk over to your neighbor to talk about the newspaper or borrow the newspaper. Okay? And so given this pace of change, over the last 20 years, I think we all agree that it has been dramatic. Okay? Now, I think given the exponential pace at which things are evolving, I think I would be willing to bet my money that within the next 10 years, the world around us will change more than it has over the last 20 years. Now, if you think about the change over the last 20 years and you compress that magnitude of change to less than 10 years, that means rapid.